Hey everybody, I'm Two Tone.
I'm Mr. Peach.
Welcome back to the Hills Are Silent podcast, where we chop it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let's get into it. What's going on, Mitch?
Oh man, lots of gaming going on, honestly. There's it's getting cold here in Chicago, so it's turned into the time where I become a hermit and play a lot of games. So I know we talked about last week. I was really excited to play Plague Tale Requiem, and I finished that.
Cool.
It lived up to my expectations. I told you it was my most anticipated of the year, and it lived up to it. Honestly, it was
Wow.
very good. I don't usually get emotional with stories. I guess I'm usually pretty calm and don't get too emotional. But that one got me. The story was excellent. Like they really delivered it, and for it being a sequel, I liked it more than the original, which is saying a lot because I like the original a lot.
Okay, that's good to hear. How long would you say it took you to beat it?
Not too long. I want to say 15, 20 hours.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's a good campaign length, in my opinion.
I thought it was perfect. Another one of those Game Pass games that I, stumbled upon with the first one, and the second one was a day one Game Pass, so I didn't have to buy that. And, I put my 15, 20 hours in, finish the story, and I move on to another one.
Nice. How long was the first one?
I think around the same. I think the second one was definitely longer, maybe by a few hours, but they're similar.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, very good. They're setting not really a spoiler, but they're setting things up for a third game too, which I'm pretty excited about that. It doesn't really spoil too much, but I'm glad they're going to keep going and make it a trilogy at least.
Yeah, nice. Huh.
Yeah,
Do you know how long it was between the first game and the second game?
let's see. I'm trying to think when I played the first one where I was living. I can usually tell how many years it's been based on the apartment I'm living in.
Yeah.
I'd say it was they didn't take too long. I mean, 2 years maybe.
Let's see here. Looks like the first one came out in 2019, so about
Okay, 2-3 years.
yeah. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, yeah, hopefully they'll crank out another one before too long then.
Yeah, exactly. But enough about me. What have you been playing, Mike?
So I've been really busy lately, and I actually was out on vacation the past week and a half, and I was running around everywhere when I was on vacation, but I did have some time to play some games on the plane ride to and from where I was vacationing at. And I was looking through all the games that I have on my modded PlayStation Vita, and I've got all kinds of emulators. The original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy Advance. Just a huge list of emulators and games of old consoles. And I have no idea why I picked this game, but I chose to play Theme Park on the Sega Genesis version. So this is a very old game. It's a simulator game, kind of like SimCity or I think Roller Coaster Tycoon. I believe Roller Coaster Tycoon came out after Theme Park, and I'm sure I've never played it, but I'm sure it's probably heavily influenced by Theme Park. And I had the game back on PC when I was really young, and it was way too complicated for me to actually be good at it and understand it, but I'd still mess around with it. So I think when I was going through the game list, I think I saw that and was like, well, I'm older now. I bet you I can actually understand how this game is supposed to be played and actually play it. So, as the name suggests, you build a theme park. You pick an area in the world, and wherever you pick determines some of the things you'll have to deal with, like property tax and just like small nuances of starting a business in each territory that you can choose from. And you start out with a set amount of money, And then you also start out with another set amount of money that you have from a loan. And it is totally a business simulator. I did not realize how deep this goes, especially for a game from the 90s.
Right.
And my strategy was to get rid of the loan as quickly as possible so I'm not paying interest, and you want to keep your cost as low as possible and keep your income as high as possible. And they throw all kinds of curveballs at you constantly. Like your employees are constantly negotiating for higher wages. Your suppliers are constantly negotiating for higher prices for the goods that you need for your theme park. And meanwhile, you also have to spend money to research new rides, new attractions, new gift shops, all kinds of stuff. So it becomes this business juggling act. And I really got into it, surprisingly. And then right when the plane was about to land, I'd hit that sweet spot where I paid off the loan, my theme park was profitable, and I was thriving.
There
And
you
I was
go.
like, dang, this is actually a pretty addicting game, and it is very true to life, which I find fascinating that business, if you really think about it, has not changed a whole lot from 25, 30 years ago. There's still these
True.
basic fundamentals and basic issues that you have to deal with that are so commonplace that they were able to be combined into a game. So it was pretty cool. The game gets more complicated the farther you go, and it's definitely much easier to play on PC with a mouse than it is with a joypad. And I'm
Yeah, that
sure
makes
the
sense.
PC version was a little more advanced than the Sega Genesis version, but that was the only one I had on hand at the time when I was on vacation. Yeah, I don't typically play simulators, so it definitely was outside of the norm for me. So I've played SimCity 2000 years ago,
A
and
classic.
other than that in theme park, that's really it. Like I've never played Tropico or Roller Coaster Tycoon or Civilization or any of those strategy sims. What about you?
They
Have
can be
you?
intimidating.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely can. Have you ever touched any of those?
Yeah, I think the ones that stick out to me are definitely the roller coaster tycoons. I played those growing up a lot. But the other ones that I've played more recently are 2 points, the 2 point games, so 2 point
Oh
hospital.
yeah, I've heard of those.
And then they also just came out with 2 point campus. So basically, it's just management sims where you're managing either a hospital or a campus. And it's kind of the same type of thing where you're building up the hospital to become profitable or building up the campus to become profitable. And those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll have to give those a try sometime because I surprisingly enjoyed this game. So that might be something I'm actually into. Just never gave it an honest chance.
If you're looking for the theme park, again, kind of like what you were just doing, Planet Coaster is also the one. It's kind of the evolved version of Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's a very solid one.
Cool. Yeah, that's been it for me on my list of games I've been playing. So I don't know why this popped in my head, but the other day I was thinking back, and I remember one time I'd come over to your house and I'd brought my original Xbox with me. Now, this Xbox had been giving me trouble for a while at that point. The AV connector in the back, where you plug the cord in that plugs into the wall, something about it was faulty, and if you didn't plug it in just right, it wouldn't get power, or if it moved at all, the system would shut off. And sometimes it would even like crackle and spark. So I had to be very careful with that. I had to put it in perfectly and just not touch it. And over time, it was getting worse and worse. It was just more and more finicky. And I remember I had brought in the console over to your house, plugged it in, and when we turned it on, the console started smoking from the back, from that plug, and then it just crapped out and wouldn't turn on again. And the worst part was I had a game in the CD drive, which was Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which is my favorite game of all time on the original Xbox. So I was like, crap, the console shot, but I'm not going to lose my game too. So I
Right.
remember
Yeah.
prying open the CD drive to get the game out. So, I was going to have to buy a new console eventually. Didn't want to have to buy another copy of that game.
Exactly. Games were still expensive back then.
Yeah. So that got me thinking about all of the hardware failures I've had to deal with throughout all the consoles I've owned in my life. So I lost that original Xbox. I honestly don't remember if I ever replaced it or not. I think I may have just held off and eventually bought an Xbox 360 because I had a PS2 at the time as well, so maybe I just transitioned over to that
Sure.
and then eventually got a 360 after that had been out. But then that leads me to the Xbox 360. It's the old consoles, the arcade versions, had that red ring of death issue where I think it was something crazy like up to half of all the original Xbox 360s eventually died from that red ring of death issue because there's just faulty hardware. So I thought about it. I went through 4 Xbox 360s. So I had the original arcade version. It crapped out on me. Microsoft admitted to the hardware failure and extended everyone's warranty. So
As they should have.
yeah, which was good of them. So I was able to send it in and get a replacement under that warranty. That one crapped out on me. It was still under warranty. So I was able to send it in and get another one under warranty. So now I'm on my third Xbox. That one crapped out on me. Because for some reason they just keep sending you back the faulty ones. Like,
Right. They keep claiming they fixed it, but
yeah.
then or they gave you a new one, but it still has the same issue.
Yeah, so when that third console crapped out, I tried to get them to fix it again, and this time they're like, you're no longer under warranty. We're not going to give you another one. And I complained through a fit. I was like, you kidding me, man? Like, this is the third Xbox I've gotten, and I still get the red ring. But no matter how much I complain, they refused to do anything about it without charging me like a repair fee or something like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to pay you guys a repair fee, and it's going to break again in 6 months.
Right.
So at that point, what was that?
I think I got lucky with with that. The only one I had one white one, and it had the disk drive issue. And then I upgraded to the Elite version, which was the black console. And then once they graduated to that version, they didn't have the issue anymore. So I got lucky for for a little while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the one I ended up getting. After that third one crapped out, I finally just went out, bought the Elite version, which, like you said, they had fixed the hardware failure at that point.
Yep.
And I've had that same one ever since, so I've been good. What about you? Have you ever had a console crap out on you? Any type of hardware, controllers?
Yeah, I could think of a couple good ones. I guess not good ones because they weren't a good time for me. But there was one. We would go to our uncle's for Christmas Eve every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited, afterward to come home and game all night, before Christmas. Don't have school tomorrow. And Halo 2, all my friends are going to be online as well, so we're all going to game it up on Halo 2 until the wee hours, and then get a limited sleep for Christmas Day. I had a controller on its last life. I was getting one the next day for Christmas. I knew I was, so I just needed the controller to last me one more night. But it did not. The wire was there was some issue with the wire where I had to wrap it around the controller in a certain way to keep it functional. And it got to the point where it just was not working at all, no matter how many times I wrapped it in each certain way. So, unfortunately, young Mitch did not get to spend Christmas Eve gaming. He had to go to bed instead.
Dang.
Yeah, aside from that one was manageable. It was only one night, and I got a controller the next day, but
let me ask you this.
Okay.
Was that an official Xbox controller or like a third-party one?
That was official Xbox controller.
Really?
Yes.
And was the one that the new one you got to replace it that you got on Christmas, was that an official one too?
Also an official one,
Okay.
yes. I believe I didn't take very good care of those controllers. I know you weren't really supposed to wrap them up when you were done with them or like mess with the cord too much. But I feel like I didn't take as good care of my controllers as I should have.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't like the feel of any of the other types of controllers, like the off-brand ones. They just didn't have the same feel for me as those original Xbox controllers. Not the Duke ones though, the smaller ones.
Yeah.
But other than that, that one, like I said, one night, no big deal. My other one it hurt me a little more. It was more of so with GameCubes, memory cards were a thing. A lot of games took up a lot of space on those memory cards. So for me, I was like, I'm going to buy something that is going to, hold a ton of space and be fairly cheap. And comes in Mad Catz memory cards for the GameCube. Those things were fairly cheap, I want to say, and they held a ton of memory on them. I was a huge Animal Crossing fan, and Animal Crossing, as you and I know, took up a ton of space on those memory cards. They shipped those games with a memory card because they knew it would take up the whole thing in general. So basically, I was using the Mad Catz memory card for everything because I could put everything I wanted on that one memory card and it would be perfect, and I wouldn't have to mess with anything else. I log on, to play my Animal Crossing town, talk with my neighbors in the in Animal Crossing, and all of my data's gone. My town is erased.
Dang.
The whole thing is just gone. I'm like, oh crap! I'm gonna go take a look at the memory card and the settings and see what's going on. I go in and look, everything's wiped. So not only my Animal Crossing, but some of my other precious games. Like I was thinking about Super Smash Bros. For instance, like all my unlockable characters on Melee gone. Had to had to regrind for the characters on Melee, which was never fun either.
Dang.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I learned my lesson. I never went to Mad Catz for memory cards or really anything at that point ever again. Have you
Yeah.
used Mad Catz for anything as recently or even in the past?
Yeah, you talked about not liking third party controllers, and I don't know if they were Mad Catz controllers, but I had a few third party ones, and you're right, they just never quite felt right. Although I did have a cool third party controller on the original Xbox, it was called an airflow controller, and the grips on it had slits cut out in it, and it had fans inside it that you could control the speed of. So it's supposed to keep your hands cool so your hands weren't all sweaty and slipping off the controller when you're playing an intense game. I did like that controller. It didn't quite feel right, but just the cool factor of that made up for it.
Yeah, very cool gimmick for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I had some other generic ones. I remember I had bought an off brand Sega Dreamcast light gun controller. I bought the House of the Dead 2 for Sega Dreamcast because at the time I was absolutely obsessed with that game. And I got an official controller. And at that point, I was pretty much out of money. So I went online and ended up ordering a third party controller. And it didn't even work at all. And there was no return. I bought off of eBay. There was no returns on the item, and I was just screwed. So anytime I played that game, one of us had the light gun, and the other person had to play with the controller, which it's
Oh
not
man,
fun playing a light gun with a controller. It completely defeats the purpose.
it does.
I've never had a controller crap out on me, I don't think. Um, I probably have, but I can't think of it on top of my head.
Yeah, I feel like
However,
any of the newer age controllers that I've had, I know like with my Nintendo Switch, there's a big issue with that with like the the Joy Cons having the stick drift, or one of them crapping out and the other one still working, which I definitely had that issue. Other than that, I've been pretty fortunate.
Yeah. And I usually babied my controllers. Now, I can't say the same for some of my friends. I don't know about you, but I had friends that had rage problems. And if they were losing at a game, first thing they do is get up and just throw the controller across the room.
Oh yeah, I can think of some friends that exact same thing.
Dude, that used to drive me nuts. Because I'd be like, first of all, I'm a kid. I don't have a ton of money. Those controllers are very expensive. Like, don't throw my Nintendo 64 controller, my Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, whatever it was. Like, don't throw it. If you're going to be throwing controllers, bring your own controller over here.
Exactly.
I I had a buddy back in the day who acquired a mint condition Atari 2600 from some of his relatives. Now, the Atari 2600 came out in the 1970s. And at this time, it was probably the late 90s, maybe even early 2000s. So, even at that point, it was an old console. But this one was mint condition, still had the original box in pristine condition, 2 controllers, huge stack of games. So, he had some family members that just gave it to him. So after he got it, I was like, this is cool. I've never seen this before. Like at that point, I played the original Nintendo, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, but I'd never played the original Atari. I don't even think I knew about it back then, but I was fascinated. So we definitely busted it out, plugged it into the TV, and started playing it. Now this friend was one of those people who rages and throws controllers. And I don't know if you've ever played an old Atari game, but they are not easy to play. Like they are very frustrating, just because they're so old and rudimentary
Right.
in how the games play. So sure enough, he got pissed off, threw the controller across the room. It broke in half immediately on impact. He stood up in a fit of rage and slammed the TV off, leaving the console on and not realizing it. So he ended up leaving that console on for days. And then when I came back over to his house, it just stopped working. Because he left it on, I don't know if it fried or what, or just crapped out. But I'm like, damn, dude. This console lasted decades in pristine condition, and it was in your hands for 2 days, and you break it.
There's no safety power setting like there is on today's consoles, where if you leave it on for a certain amount of time, it shuts off.
No, not at all.
Yeah, man, that's unfortunate though, and I definitely have friends like that as well who just don't treat their expensive, electronics with care, and also drives me nuts. It's as someone who takes pride in everything that I own, and and the money that I spend on it. You don't want somebody trashing your own things, like you said. You don't want people throwing your controllers. Which brings me to the scenario with that exact thing is I had a friend who would also rage on Halo and other games and throw controllers and whatnot. And he had an unfortunate issue with his Xbox breaking that was out of his control. He had a red ring issue. I had an extra one that just had a disk drive issue, but it could be, if you mess with it a little bit, it would work eventually. So I'm like, hey, I want to play Halo with you still. You can borrow this Xbox. And he was gracious and did it and packed it up in his book bag. And I walked home with him to set it up and just make sure it worked. First thing he does with my Xbox in his bag and throws it down the stairs. Throws the backpack down the stairs with the Xbox in it. And I'm
What
just
the
in
heck?
shock. Like that's my Xbox that I'm letting you borrow, and down the stairs it goes.
That's so weird.
It just goes to show, it went to show like how he treated all of his stuff, and then he didn't realize, I guess he forgot in the moment that he was borrowing my stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, just completely trashed it. Thankfully, it still worked and everything, but like I couldn't imagine throwing any of my consoles down a flight of stairs or anything of that
No.
matter. I would be so sad.
Yeah, I would hate it when I would lend something to a friend and it would come back all beat up. I'm just
Like
saying.
when you give them a video game and it comes back and you look at the back of it, the disc, and it's all
Yeah.
scratched up. Like, I didn't have this that scratched.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had people return games to me, like not even in the case anymore. They're just like, here's the disc. I'm like, dude, there was a case and a manual. Like, what happened? I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. I'm like, dude, you had it 1 week. How do you lose the case and the manual? And because of that, yeah, like you said, it'd be scratched to hell. I'd be like, dude,
Right.
you know what? Just keep it, man.
Yeah, at this point, it's yours.
Probably doesn't even work anymore. That's funny. So I saw in the news that Steam has released a new Steam charts that goes over like the top selling games, the top most played games. Now there have been other sites that provide this service, but none of them have been officially from Steam. And I'm sure there's ways to get that data, but I would definitely trust the data coming straight from Steam more than anyone else. Or not. Maybe they're fudging the data. I don't know. Either way, I thought it'd be interesting if you and I go over some of the top games in both the top sellers list and the most played list.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I just want to get your opinion on what have you played. What are your thoughts on the trends, on what are the top games? All right, so we're going to start with the top sellers list.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. What do you think the number one top selling thing is on Steam?
It's not what I expected, I'm sure. I'm thinking maybe at this point Call of Duty.
Okay. Call of Duty is third, but is not in first. In first place is the Steam Deck.
I think there's a little bit of messing around with that one on the Valve side. I think they may have pushed that one up on their own there.
You are probably right. Although we don't know what they're basing this on. We don't know if they're basing it on units sold or money made. Because if you think about it, a Steam Deck, they're $400 a piece. So if they're going solely based off how much revenue it's generating, then Call of Duty could definitely sell more units. But since Call of Duty is being sold for $70 and not $400, Steam Deck could be beating it out. But we don't really know.
That's true. It's interesting because it's their top sellers, but they also have. I'm now looking at the list, and number 4 is Lost Ark, which is a free-to-play game. So
Well, you're right.
it's
That's
like,
weird.
so how are they? How are they calling it a top seller unless they're factoring the microtransactions within the game?
They've got to be. They've got to be. All right, so we got Steam Deck in number 1. Number 2 is Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. I'm not even familiar with that game. What
I'm
is
familiar with the
that?
Warhammer games, but that one specifically, I think, is a new release.
Okay.
It's
Oh, is this the one that's supposed to be kind of like the End Times Vermintide, but instead it's set in a different Warhammer universe?
I think you're right. Yes.
Okay.
A
Oh,
lot of those
yeah.
Warhammer games blend together for me, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
they definitely do. Okay, this one actually looks pretty cool. I'd like to check this
Okay.
one out. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is in third place. No surprise there.
Yeah.
I am surprised it's not in second place. I'm surprised that Warhammer is beating it out. Like Mitch said, Lost Ark is number 4. Number 5 is Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Great game. Not surprised about that.
Which is a pre-purchase though, as you see right there.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
even out yet on Steam. So it's
Yeah.
interesting if they're factoring in, the how many people have
Yeah.
pre-ordered it.
So yeah, they're counting pre-orders apparently, and I mean that drops. The day we're filming this is November 17th, and this comes out November 18th. So it
Okay.
says it drops in 12 hours. Number 6 and 7 are again Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide, except these are the Imperial Edition, which I don't quite get why it's listed twice. One of the listings says it's DLC.
Yeah, it looks like the base game's $40. The Imperial Edition is $60, but you can standalone buy the DLC for $25.
Oh, I see. Well, that's cool. It looks like then a lot of people bought the game, and it was good enough to turn around and immediately purchase the DLC.
Apparently, there's a big Warhammer fan base that I didn't know existed.
Yeah, me neither. All right, so number 8 is Counter-Strike Global Offense, which is another
One of my
free-to-play game.
favorite games, though.
Yeah, man, that game has just been a moneymaker for like, what, like 10 years now? When did this come out? 2012. Yeah, man, 10 years strong. Wow. Number 9 is the Valve Index headset. And number 10 is, I don't know how you say it, Sekiro.
Sekiro.
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice Game of the Year Edition is number 10. That says it's
That
new.
Game of the Year must have just came out then, I'm guessing. 'Cause
Yeah.
the game's been out for a while.
Okay, so yeah, I guess just the Game of the Year edition's new. That's cool.
I believe so.
All right, we'll do the top 20. So,
Do it.
American Truck Simulator at number 11. That's
Oh,
interesting.
I always see people streaming that on Twitch. People love playing those simulators.
Really?
Power Watch Simulator, another good one.
All right, so number 12 is Rust. Number 13 is again the Valve Index, but this time it's the kit and not just the headset. 14, Naraka Blade Point. Not
It's a
familiar
battle
with that.
royale game, like a third-person battle royale, Fortnite-ish, but not as cartoony.
Got it. Number 15 is Smite. 16 is Bendy and the Dark Revival. I know that's a sequel to another game, and that one just came out. 17, Sea of Thieves. 18, God of War. 19, The Elder Scrolls Online. And 20, Crisis Remastered Trilogy, which I'm surprised. That's a great trilogy. I'm just surprised that many people are picking it up because it's
Yeah,
older games, you know?
I think the remastered trilogy is fairly new, but still, like another one where I didn't think there was that big of a fan base for the Crisis series.
Yeah, same here. It's marked as new, but this has been out for quite some time now. So maybe I think it might just be new on Steam. I think originally it was like an Epic Games
That would make sense.
exclusive for like the first year or something. What I find interesting about this is right now it's on sale for $30, but it typically retails for $90. Are you
That seems
kidding?
a tad outrageous.
For 3 remasters of old games, they're charging $90.
If you try and think of it in comparison, you can buy like what was it, 3 Crash Bandicoot games all in that trilogy for like $20 now, probably less.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. All right. Well, that rounds out the top 20 sellers.
There's some there's some shockers in there, and I do think Valve puts a lot of their stuff up there no matter how much it's selling.
Yeah, it's a little suspicious. So, so hopping over to the most played games, number 1, Counter-Strike Global Offense.
They don't even need to update that game and people will still just play it.
Yeah. Number two, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not surprising. Number three, Dota 2, not surprising. Four, Apex Legends. Five, PUBG Battlegrounds. Six, that Lost Ark game. Seven, Team Fortress 2, which that's been going strong for a
That's
long
wild.
time. Eight is New World. Nine is Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. 10 is Rust. Okay, this is weird. 11 is Wallpaper Engine. What even
I
is that?
I own Wallpaper Engine actually,
Okay.
and it's literally what it says. You launch it, and you can pick between a bunch of wallpapers and add them to your background of your computer.
Oh, no wonder so many people are using it because it's just something you run in the background.
It literally just runs in the background.
Got it. Oh. All right, number 12, Grand Theft Auto 5. That game's still been going strong for a long
Yeah,
time.
they're that online play is just a moneymaker for him too.
Yeah, 13 is Unturned.
That one I've not heard of.
Me, there's free to play. The graphics kind of look like Minecraft. Never heard of that one. 14, Payday 2, amazing game. 15, that
Absolutely.
Naraka Blade Point. 16, Sid Meier's Civilization 6.
Speaking of,
Yeah. 17, Destiny 2. 18, Ark Survival Edition. 19, Mirror 4. Another free to play game. Never heard of that one.
uh-uh.
Looks a little funky. 20, Nobody, the Turnaround. Which, what the hell? You can't even buy this game. So how do people have it?
I don't know. Maybe there was an early access at some point, but yeah, that seems odd if they can't play it now. How are their active users?
Yeah, looks like it's been delisted for purchase. It's marked as an early access game. But yeah,
It's a
there's no
life
button.
simulator.
It's what?
They call it a life simulator.
Yeah, its graphics look really dated. Not that that's a bad thing, but just an observation. Yeah, how are people playing this? There's no button to download it, no button to purchase it. Weird.
Maybe it's a closed beta of some sort, and they only let a certain amount of people in and then shut it off. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, that rounds out the Steam charts. I've been wanting to check those out for a while, just out of my own curiosity.
Yeah, glad we did. There's some surprises there that
Yeah.
I did not expect.
All right, so as I mentioned, it is November, which means Thanksgiving, which means Black Friday. And usually I pay really close attention to the Black Friday deals. It's been kind of hit or miss lately. Mitch, I think you were saying there were some standouts, though, that you were noticing.
Yeah, I picked up a couple things. From my end, the Control Ultimate Edition, Control, fantastic game. All their DLC, $15. Really can't go wrong with that one. It's trying to think the developer, but Quantum Break, same people that did Quantum Break. It's a fantastic one. I mean, I think that's one's worth picking up. Other than that, I mean, there haven't been great deals on consoles for the most part. I know PlayStation's kind of standing pat with their pricing and even like flirting with increasing the pricing because they're just not. They haven't been profitable. But Microsoft is basically saying we'll discount this Series S, which for those who don't know, the Series S is the lesser of the next gen Xbox consoles. The Series X is the more powerful one. The Series S doesn't have the disk drive, doesn't have the same specs, a little less powerful than the Series X. But if you're looking to upgrade for a next gen console, it's not a bad option with this one at Target where it's originally marked as $300. It's on sale for $250 plus a $50 gift card to Target. So really, only basically $100 off for a next gen console.
Yeah, that's good. And, if you're a family just trying to get a next gen console for your kid and you don't want to pay for the more expensive one, that's essentially $200 for that console. You get that for your kid, you get the $50 gift card, you can turn around and spend on other Christmas gifts for other people. So that is a good deal. Me personally, I want the X. I don't have it. I want it. The S is great and all, but I'm
I
not planning on picking it up even for that steep discount.
I do have the X, and I can say worth every penny.
I bet,
It's
yeah.
been a great console for me so far.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that Control Ultimate Edition, I definitely want to pick that up. That's going for $15 right now at Best Buy. That is a really good deal for the game and all its DLC. Let's see what else here. It's mostly not a whole lot of game discounts. Definitely not a whole lot of console discounts. I've seen computer components on sale, and I think you had mentioned to me there were some good VR deals as
yes, I
well.
was just going to mention that. Yeah, some good VR deals. They're really trying to get people to tap into that market still. I think it's improving every day. I mean, everything that they've been releasing lately has been very good. It's a long ways from where VR started, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, there's some good VR deals on the Quest 2. That Quest 2 includes Beat Saber and Resident Evil 4 VR, which, from what I've heard and what we've talked about, it's a pretty solid experience. Not one that I could probably do all the way through, but a
Yeah,
solid experience nonetheless.
and that one is exclusive to Quest, so that's the only VR headset you'd be able to play Resident Evil 4 VR in.
Yep. That one, then the HP Reverb for $400, which you may know more about that one than me. I'm not as familiar, but $400, we think that's a solid deal.
I think so. If I remember correctly, it originally retailed for like $800, so that's like half off.
Yeah.
The Reverb, I think I think that's one of the Windows mixed reality headsets. At least it used to be. I don't know if the newer iterations are. And from what I remember, that was always one of the better ones out of the different Windows mixed reality headsets. So I guess Windows released the technology for the headsets, and other manufacturers actually produce them.
If
I The first headset I ever had on PC was the Lenovo Windows mixed reality headset, and at the time I bought it, everyone was like, "Get the Reverb, it's better," and I wish I would have. So I'm sure that one's pretty good.
As someone like me who would be just joining the VR community, because I do not have a headset currently and I've never really played it for that matter, what would you recommend to start with?
As I've mentioned before, if you really just want to go cheap as possible, get a PlayStation 4 VR headset if you have a
How'd you may go
PS4
there?
Pro. But if you want something a little better than that or something PC based, the Quest 2 or the Reverb are probably good options because as much as I would say run out and buy the Valve Index, I mean it's just so expensive. Just the headset alone is what like just the headset alone is $500. And you can't really do much with just the headset.
Right.
And then the whole kit is $1,000. So, whew,
A little pricey.
yeah. So yeah, probably that Reverb is a good deal. I like the Quest. It's the only headset that's wireless that I know of, and you get the best of both worlds because it's wireless You can play it standalone wireless, or you can plug it into your computer for extra horsepower.
That's a
And
good feature.
yeah, so that's nice. But they've recently increased the price of that, so I can't help but feel salty if I buy that headset because I'm like, man, instead of it getting cheaper over time, it's gotten more expensive over time, and you have to log into Facebook in order to use it.
Oh, gross.
Which, yeah, so the Reverb
So,
for $400 is looking like a better and better deal.
so I know we've been going over all these deals, and we were looking at a few of them yesterday. And a site I like to use for those is called Slick Deals. It's been something that I kind of just stumbled upon it. I think I was just looking at random apps on my phone for deals pages or something or another. Stumbled upon this page called Slick Deals, and it's been my go-to all the time. I mean, it not only has deals for gaming, which we were looking at just by itself. It has, if I need some toilet paper, sometimes they tell me there's good deals on toilet paper at Walmart. And I'll throw it in my cart on the Walmart app, and then I'm good to go. But no, it has really everything. It's just a great community of people posting deals about any sort of thing you're looking for. From they're even going into PC parts, which I think is great for me as somebody who's thinking of upgrading my PC soon, as well as anything from like furniture or whatever else you're looking for in life. But great page, highly recommend. I know I got you into it, and you're going to start using it. So yeah, Slick Deals is the way to go.
Yeah, I'm always looking for new websites that just kind of aggregate all the current deals. And when we were looking at this site yesterday, it has pretty much all the video game Black Friday deals. So normally I'll go to like bestbuy.com, walmart.com, Amazon, GameStop, yada yada yada, and it's just annoying. So to have this site that you showed me to just have it all in one place, that's really convenient.
Yeah, extremely. I'll find myself at work like I don't really feel like working right now, and I'll just pop up Slick Deals and just start scrolling and trying to fend off the urge to buy something.
Yeah. Another good one is, but it's only for digital games, is there any deal.com.
Okay.
So that'll tell you if Steam has a sale, EA has a sale, Green Man Gaming has a sale, all those different sites that sell CD keys and digital games. It has like a comparison of all the prices, when the last time it was on sale, what the cheapest historic price was, which that is interesting to me because if I know a game was selling for $5, which to me is the sweet price point, but that's just me because I'm a cheap ass. If I see it was on sale for $5, I'm not going to buy it until it goes back down to $5 again.
Give yourself some credit, Mike. You're a savvy game collector.
Yes,
That's all it is.
That's the better way to put it. I appreciate that.
I might have to check that one out though. That sounds really cool. A lot of good features that I've not heard of that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to that one.
Perfect.
All right, so I mean, Black Friday is all great, but really, this month is about being thankful. Thanksgiving is this month.
Definitely.
So you mentioned we should always be thankful, but we should probably go over what we are thankful for this year. But for the sake of this podcast, because it is video game based, we will keep it to video game related things. So Mitch, I'll let you jump it off.
Yeah. So we preached it. This is our third episode of the podcast here, and I think we've mentioned Game Pass more times than I can even count. So if anybody at Microsoft is listening and wants to sponsor us, we are available. But I'm really just going to say that I'm super thankful for Game Pass. I really am. I've been a subscriber pretty much since they launched it. I always find great deals on it during the holidays to keep me subscribed, so I never feel like I'm, paying too much money for the subscription. And I believe I've just found so many gems that I never would have even known existed if it wasn't for them throwing it on Game Pass and just me seeing that it's a new release onto Game Pass available now. All I have to do is hit download and try it. It's honestly been, it just me thinking about that as a kid, like if I could have just, have a subscription-based service where I can just download a game like immediately when they tell me it's available, I wouldn't have believed it because, I was always trying to scavenge money together to buy a $60 game, growing up. And it's crazy to think that we have such a big catalog now on Game Pass. I've played so many gems and I'm going to keep playing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have one more though, aside from Game Pass. I know I've mentioned it a lot, but I guess gaming adjacent, I'm really thankful for Discord as well. Discord has been huge in my life for, since its existence as well for the past few years. I have a lot of friends, including you, my cousin, who we don't live close to each other, but we've still been able to keep in touch and do a lot of gaming together and connect and be, and still have meaningful conversations together because of Discord, where we hop in every day after work and say what's up, like, we're meeting at a bar. It's, it's basically the same thing. And when it comes to this podcast, we would have never done this podcast if it wasn't for Discord, or maybe we would have, but it made it way easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as everyone can tell, we connect through Discord to do the podcast, especially since I forgot to put it in full screen mode at the beginning of this podcast. So you may have really realized it at that point had you not before. Yeah, and just to kind of extend on what you were saying about Game Pass is like technology and just everyone has it so good nowadays. Everything has come so far. I never would have imagined anything like Game Pass or just any of how games are distributed now and how freely available they are, and how many quality games are coming out. Because it used to be for every one great game there was 1,000 crappy games, and now it's like for every one great game there's like 50 crappy games. Like there's still always going to be crappy games, but for the most part, there's just so much good stuff coming out that I just don't even have the time in the day to play them, let alone even know these great games exist. It's just everything at our fingertips, which is absolutely amazing.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
It doesn't matter what console I'm on, where I'm at. I'm finding something to play somewhere. There's unlimited choices. It's fantastic.
yeah. And I am also thankful for all the hardworking people in the modding community, because not only are they creating great things for modern games, but modders are also keeping old games alive and just preserving games, preserving consoles, preserving services. I saw recently that some modders were able to partially restore PlayStation Home, which I used very briefly back in the day, but I know a lot of people were really into that. So it basically was like a hangout hub on PlayStation 3, where you can log in, have an avatar, and just walk around, play mini games, hang out with people. So Sony had shut this service down, and modders were able to reverse engineer things and get a lot of it back up and running. So people who are very nostalgic for that can have access to it again. Modders are also bringing back the original Xbox Live for the original Xbox console. And as I'm sure you can tell by now from both this episode and past episodes, man, I freaking love the original Xbox. It's just an awesome console. So many memories, so much nostalgia with it. And when Microsoft shut off Xbox Live for the original Xbox, that was a very sad day. So it's right now you can sign up for a closed beta to be part of it. What is the service called? It is, I want to say, Bear with me, guys. I'll have to pull this up.
I'll add while you're looking that up. Just but my start to my online gaming was the original Xbox. Watching you have it and begging my parents to get upgrade that dial-up internet so I could play online too. So yeah, a lot of nostalgia for me too.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I had played a few online games on PC before that, but that really was the turning point where online gaming was brought to the masses and just became this huge phenomenon. So the project is called Insignia, and it is launching its closed beta. And unfortunately, you have to have an original Xbox, obviously, to log into it, but you also have to have a modded original Xbox. You cannot connect with the stock Xbox. So this month I will be modding my original Xbox, which is just off screen right here next to me, and I will be signing up for this closed beta, and I am really looking forward to this. They've got a list of the games they're bringing back. It's not going to be everything, but right now it's a pretty solid list. Let's see here.
I will not be modding an Xbox and do not own one, so I'm going to have to come out and visit you to relive some nostalgia there.
All right. Yeah, man. So they're going to support 25 games at launch. And some of them are strictly just them getting the leaderboards back online. So not all those games are technically multiplayer games. But some of the standouts are Counter-Strike for the original Xbox. I mean, I know there's plenty of ways to play better versions of Counter-Strike today, but I definitely have nostalgia playing Counter-Strike on the original Xbox. Crimson Skies, Dead or Alive Ultimate, Mech Assault, Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. That's pretty cool that they're bringing those back.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Unreal Championship, the original version of the game, the first-person shooter 13, and as well as some other ones. So I own a handful of these. I'll be hopping into these servers when these go live. And hopefully at some point they'll be able to bring other games back online for the original Xbox. So Mitch and I were talking about this yesterday. What are the games that we would like to see on the original Xbox have their multiplayer brought back?
I
Go ahead.
I think we have our obvious one. We'll just get it out the way. Halo 2, I mean, is
Yes.
one that, of course, we know the Master Chief Collection exists. You can play it on PC, you can play it on Xbox. But I mean, it still would be cool to boot up, the original Xbox and just dive into some Halo 2.
Hell yeah. The other one for me is Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Tides of War, which I've talked about already a handful of times on this podcast. My favorite game on the original Xbox, I sunk hundreds and hundreds of hours into that online multiplayer, and I would love to dive back into that one.
Yeah, I hardly played that, but I just know everything about it because of you, because that's what I would usually when I'd come visit you. You were playing, and it looked like a lot of fun back in the day.
Oh yeah, I was obsessed with that one.
Other notables, I would say, and I streamed this recently on my Twitch account, is the Time Splitters franchise, but specifically Time Splitters Future Perfect. I remember doing split screen with friends on that back in the day, and there was some. It has multiplayer capabilities, but I didn't have online at the time. I just remember that multiplayer is a lot of fun. I think that would be a really solid choice.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Another game we talked about, which a lot of people probably don't remember, is Fusion Frenzy, which didn't have online multiplayer, but it was a multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. We just both happened to bring up or think about that game when thinking about the list of games we'd like to see have their online brought back.
If Nintendo can bring online to Mario Party, they can do it for Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Fusion Frenzy released on the original Xbox, and it was basically like their version of Mario Party. It was a Mario Party ripoff, but it was a lot of fun as well. The Burnout games,
Yeah,
Burnout 3, Burnout Revenge. I'd love to see those multiplayers brought back.
absolutely.
Speaking of racing games, Need for Speed Underground 2. Oh man, if they could bring the multiplayer back for that one, that would be amazing.
What a soundtrack too. I still sometimes they have a Spotify playlist of just Need for Speed Underground songs.
Really?
And man, what a banger of a playlist.
Nice. Yeah, that one did have both the first one and the second one had just amazing music. Let's see here. Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. I never played that one, but Mitch, you said that was a great game.
I did. I think I played on PlayStation, but had online capabilities as well. And yeah, I just remember it was like the dark, edgy, cool, car game back in the day. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't remember a ton from playing it. I just remember I think it had a really good commercial with a good song too. Like for some reason, all those car games had great soundtracks.
Yeah. And last on the list is the 1,000,001 Tom Clancy games that released on the original Xbox. I mean, that was like the era of Tom Clancy games.
Yep.
We still have The Division and Ghost Recon still chugging along, and Rainbow Six, Siege. Like, there still are Tom Clancy games being made today, but when the original Xbox was around, it was just non-stop Tom Clancy games. Like, there's at least 4 Ghost Recon games that came out on that console. Oh, man, like 5 or 6 Rainbow Six games. You had the original Splinter Cell trilogy, which Splinter Cell 2 and 3 had really good online multiplayer. So those specifically I would love to see come back. And I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we named a good list though. Those would all be excellent choices.
I think so too. So Insignia team, if you ever watch this episode, that's our wish list if you can make it happen.
There you go.
All right, I think I don't know how long this has been going, but we've been chopping it up for a while.
That we have. Good episode.
All right, so we can call it there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You can find all our podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
You can also follow us on our social media accounts. Our Twitter is @HillsAreSilent. Our Instagram is Instagram /HillsAreSilent. And our YouTube is @TheHillsAreSilent. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them to our email, hillsaresilent@gmail.com. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye, everybody.